Hello, this is Jerry Tuttle, math teacher at RimCAD. And when I hear to be or not to be, what I think of is the math expression to be or not to be. And so the question is, do English and math teachers really have anything in common? And let's see if we can find some commonalities. So first, what is data science? Data science is a fairly new academic field. Some people consider it the Venn diagram union of math and statistics, computer science, and domain knowledge. And it's been said that data science is work that takes more programming skills than most statisticians have, and more statistics than most programmers have. Data science tries to find meaning in large amounts of data. As a math person, I certainly like data. Text analysis is a branch of data science. Math people like to count. English teachers like to use words. So let's count words. We know that text can be dirty. Text data is even dirtier than numerical data. So let's clean some dirty text data. So in cleaning dirty data, first thing we need to do is delete punctuation and remove capitals. We need to delete funny characters. We need to delete escape and Unicode characters, which often appear in data files. We need to do stemming. So we may have words like love, lovable, loving, lovely, and love affair. These all have the same stem of L-O-V, but in some sense they're kind of the same word. Having stemmed them into LOV, we then need to unstem them or lematize them to show that they're all similar to LOVE. And we want to delete stop words. How do writers differ quantitatively? Number of characters per word. It's been used for a long time. Including by mathematician, logician Augustus de Morgan, number of words per sentence, percent unique words, use of frequent words, use of sensory adjectives, sentiment words, positive and negative words, verb-adjective ratio, and complexity or grade level. Here are some sensory adjectives. For example, bouncy can mean can have the sense of either touch or visual. Buttery can be either taste or touch. Citrusy can be either smell or taste, and if you have a dictionary of words, you can look up their sense. Here are some sentiment words. Mathematical means trust. Matrimony can mean anticipation or joy or trust. Measles can be disgust, fear, or sadness. Now let's compare two great works of literature. Hamlet, you're probably familiar with a number of these quotes. Neither a borrower nor a lender be. To thine own self be true. Something's rotten in Denmark. Brevity's the soul of wit. The lady protests too much, methinks, and so on. And here's another not quite as well-known work. Here's the first paragraph of it. The title is 1 + 1 = 0. The mini-skirted waitress brought 2 more beers to the table. She leaned over as she placed each beer bottle on the table, inviting the 2 male patrons a teasing look down the top of her blouse. She flipped her blonde hair, batted her long eyelashes, and flashed a big smile through her shiny red lipstick. Each of these gestures was designed to elicit a greater than average tip from the 2 considerably drunk young men. She did not understand that the 2 men were actuaries who could easily estimate a 15% tip to within a couple of pennies, no matter how drunk or distracted they were. So I'm going to be comparing Hamlet by Big Bill versus 1 + 1 = 0 modestly by me. So first thing I did is I did the data cleansing, which I talked about earlier, including eliminating stop words, and then I calculated the frequency of the most frequent words. In Hamlet, the most frequent words are Lord, King, Queen, and Love. I was hoping to find some similar frequently used words in 1 + 1 = 0, but I didn't. There's really no frequent words in common. I guess shouldn't be too surprised about that. As far as unique words, Hamlet has 32,000 total words, of which 4,700 are unique for a ratio of 14.7. My work is considerably shorter, but it has a greater percentage of unique words. Some words from Hamilton, not in 1 + 1 = 0, encompassment, inventorially, reconcilement, recognizances, and schoolfellows. These are words I never use. Next, I compared some I did a frequency of word lengths. Hamlet has a small number of one-letter words, A and I, presumably, then 2s, 3s, and 4s, and it's a skewed distribution. Hamlet's largest word is unproportionality, but his mean is 4.4 letters per word with a standard deviation of 2.1. Mine is pretty close. My largest word is teleconferences. So our frequency of word length distribution does not look that different. Next, I compared our use of sensory adjectives. We both have a fair number of here adjectives. We both have most commonly see sensory adjectives. Hamlet has smells. I have no smells. Hamlet has taste and touch. I have very few. So we're sort of similar on the here and the see. We differ quite a bit on the last three. And I guess I just don't smell much in my writing. Next, I compared sentiments. This is anger, anticipation, disgust, fear, joy, sadness, surprise, and trust. We both have a lot of anger and anticipation. Hamlet has more disgust than I do. And then we're both sort of similar on the others. And again, I guess I just don't disgust easily. Here are Hamlet's positive and negative words. Hamlet has a lot of death and dead. Although I did write about actuarial work, there's not a lot of death in my particular work, nor is there madness. Hamlet also has revenge. On the positive side, he has love, heaven, sweet, and virtue. And you'll see how these come in the next slide. So in Hamlet, I then analyzed every 80 lines of work, and then in those 80 lines, I asked what is the score of positive versus negative for those 80 lines. So Hamlet started out positive, more positive than negative. Then he quickly switched to more negative than positive. He goes up and down, positive and negative. He's positive for several groups of 80. Then he goes way down. This turns out to be Act 2, Scene 2, with quite a bit of murder and madness. And generally, I think Hamlet is more below the line, more negatives than positives than he is above the line. Next, I did some common authorship. This is a common use of text analysis. I took 10 actuarial stories, of which I had written 2. I used something called k-means clustering to test common authorship for various text measures. The algorithm came up with 3 clusters. This is one tiny cluster, this is a bigger cluster, and this is a third cluster. One of my stories is in this cluster right here. One of my stories is in this cluster right here. So the algorithm did not put my 2 stories in the same cluster, although the clusters are somewhat close. But it did not identify 2 of my stories as having common authorship. So what else can you do with text analysis? A lot of writers for centuries have asked the question, did Shakespeare really write all the works that are attributed to him? Recently, it's been asked, did Hamilton write the 51 Federalist Papers that are specifically talked about in Hamilton the play? One author is convinced, no, he did not write all 51. Another analyst asked which Beatles songs did John write, which did Paul write. More recently, on Trump's tweets, can you distinguish which tweets Trump wrote versus which tweets Trump's staff wrote? You can compare sentiments of characters. You can compare books, presidents, and judges. I've compared Obama and Trump, by the way, textually. Text analysis is used in consumer products, politicians, course evaluations. Perhaps more seriously, you can use text analysis to predict spam, crime, fraud, and ideally potential terrorism. Didn't want that. Some final thoughts. Cleaning the data takes a considerable amount of time. Hamlet had its own peculiarities because Hamlet is written in Old English and has stage directions. There are some good software tools in R or Python in text analysis, so that's probably preferable to using something like Excel. For a good single book reference, I recommend Silja and Robinson, Text Mining with R. And finally, if you're interested in the full text of 1 + 1 = 0, you can find it at bit.ly/JT_1+1. Thanks for listening.